There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Nice backdrop for my new green blouse. Hey, I've had a bit of a morning already. I think it's about 7:30. I just filmed a book review in the brand new park a block and a half from my house, which I have been waiting to have been finished constructing. Is that grammar correct? Since Kenji and I moved into our apartment more than a year ago, and it finally opened this past Monday. It's new and beautiful and big, and I love it. And there are benches galore. But I was worried, and now this morning I have confirmed it. I can't film there most of the time because the trees are so little, and there's no big buildings surrounding the park. It's uncharacteristically kind of low. You can actually see the sky around in my neighborhood. Not that we don't have enough tall buildings for any kind of shade. So it's just too sunny for me. I don't deal with the sun very well. I don't like it shining in my eyes. And there's one bench that's shaded at 7 o'clock in the morning, but it's so close to the busy street that I did film my review there. I think I was able to edit out. I'm pretty good at when I hear a big truck coming, I just stop talking and then I edit that piece out, but a little bit tedious. So anyway, this is nice. We'll just stick with what works, hey? I am not organized enough for this Friday Reads, but I was kind of focused on my excitement. I was excited about looking at the new park, trying to film in the new park, and I refilmed my book review. I filmed it yesterday, but the mic didn't work, and that just was not, the audio was no good, so I redid that, and I just didn't get my shit together about what I'm going to talk about. So I don't have an adjective for you. I'll try to supply one at the end, or maybe I'll invite you guys to suggest some adjectives for this week. I think it was pretty good. Buddy read with Brian of Bookish. If I wanted to make that more alliterative, what other word could I add to the phrase? Bail. I bailed on the second novella in this collection of 2 novellas by William Trevor called My House in Umbria. I couldn't stand it. Brian will talk, if he chooses to, on his channel about what his reaction was, but I thought it was awful. And part of it, I admit, is that I do tend to stereotype my writers. William Trevor is Irish. He describes Ireland so richly, and I want to read stories about Ireland. I'm sorry, this one was set in Umbria, and I think the woman had been born in Ireland, but she had hardly ever lived there, and she was weird and sketchy. Lived in Africa, she lived here, she lived there, but she didn't live, it wasn't set in Ireland, so I didn't like that. I didn't like the main character. I mean, the writing was fine, but what made me bail was that it kind of read like a fever dream. It read like that novel, Fever Dream, which I didn't like. I was having trouble figuring out what was real, because she was in hospital delirious for a while, and it was really woozy then, but then I started questioning almost everything. Like, she had this really vague relationship with a guy. Was it a lover relationship or just friends? And they had this house together that was kind of like a hotel, and he was kind of like her husband, and then she had this long fever dream in the middle, and I don't know who any of these people are. And I just didn't care. I just didn't give a you-know-what. So I read a third, and I'm done. So I get to count reading Turgenev because it was separately. I registered the bail on my Goodreads, of course, with pride, but I also registered having completed the novel reading Turgenev because it was originally published separately, so I've given that 5 stars, and My House in Umbria is going out in the trash. In addition to reading Turgenev, which I finished some months ago, but I'm counting it as of this week, I finished 2 other novels. One is this novel, Rules for Visiting by Jessica Frances Kane. I have just filmed a redo of my review. It'll go up this weekend sometime, and I really liked it. 4 stars. I won't say any more. It was good. Stay tuned. Less successful was this Hungarian novel, Embers by Sándor Márai. I didn't really like it. I mean, it held my interest to a certain degree, but I skimmed a lot. It was about a lifelong friendship between two Hungarian men, one who was of the elite and one who was poor. And they met at boarding school, and then something happens and they are estranged for 41 years, and then the poor man comes back to visit the rich man at his castle. The narrative is so belabored, the reminiscing, and it's so intellectual and stuffy and arid, really, really dry. I didn't bail, so I wanted to find out what had happened between them, what was the thing. The writing is, it's so arid, but it's well written. But the other thing was, when they finally met, the bugger, the rich man, he did all the talking. Like the man who left the country and has finally come back after 4 decades, he said about 3 sentences, and the rest was this guy going blah 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 blah, and I just started hating that and that character. So 3 stars. I have started 4 new books. One is this Faber story, The Country Funeral by John McGarren, and I'm going to keep for some reason I have never kept my reactions a secret, pending the publication of Doris's in my discussion video. And I don't know why I haven't, because, you've got to have some suspense, right? So I'll keep you in suspense. That video will come out, I don't know when, but I've started it. And that's all I'm going to say. And I have started Ivy Compton Burnett's 1930 novel, Men and Wives, and I'm laughing because she was on acid. I think I'm enjoying it, but I can't tell yet. I'm, about 5 chapters in or something. The characters speak. It's like they speak as if they're delivering lines on a stage. They don't really appear to be conversing with each other or listening or responding to each other, but I think that's the case in real life a lot of times. But it's rarely stylized, and it kind of reminds me, it's kind of like a mashup of Virginia Woolf's The Waves, Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest, with just a dash of Gertrude Stein. I'm really intrigued by it, but I don't quite know what to make of it. You got to really pay attention. It's not dense, but it's mostly a lot of dialogue, and the way they're talking past each other, it's like reading Gertrude Stein. What little I read years ago of Gertrude Stein, but yeah, I'm intrigued. What the hell was she smoking? I've started the next Barbara Pym novel, An Unsuitable Attachment. This was the one of the ones that got rejected in the 1960s that sent her into quite a depression because she had been rendered unpublishable for 15 years or something. She finished it much later in her life. I've just started it. It's very Pymian. I'm enjoying it. It's early days, but it's typical. There's a priest or a vicar, and there's people who moved in next door, and there's people are looking for love, and there's lots of wit. It's very charming so far. And the last one that I have started is a real trip. My very first Ronald Furbank anything. This is a novella, 90 pages, concerning the eccentricities of Cardinal Pirelli. And it's very stylized, but really well done. I'm 10 pages in, and it's slow reading, but I love the writing. Who knows whether I'll get sick of it later, but it's very bawdy underneath all those ornate turns of phrase, and there's a lot of vocabulary that I don't know that I'm looking up, and some of it's in other languages, and it's all woven together, and underneath it is the dirtiest mind. Wow. I'll have much more to say about that later. I think I found a new favorite writer, somebody who gets me underneath all my ornate elocutions. What do you think? So that's what I've started. I think I'm now ready to say that in terms of how interested I am in what I have started this week, other than the Trevor, which was a disappointment, yeah, I've had a pretty good reading week. What do you think? So in terms of what's coming up, Victober starts on Tuesday. So that is my favorite readathon of the year, and I'm probably going to extend it well into November. Too bad nonfiction November, because I've got a very ambitious TBR. The only two that I'm sure that I will start are the Anthony Trollope novel Phineas Finn, because I'll start that right away because it's 172 hours or something on audio. I can't remember. It's 30 hours or something. So I need to do an hour a day to get through it. So I'll be starting that. Whenever possible, I'll be sitting down reading the Gutenberg ebook while I listen to the audio. That is the peak way to experience a literary text, as I've said many times before. But other times, because it's David Shaw Parker, who is just a riveting audiobook narrator, will just be listening to it while I'm on the train or walking or whatever. So I'm really stoked about that. And Sharon Goforth and I will be having our first buddy read. This was a book that she used for my page 112 tag several weeks back, and I said, ooh, that sounds good, because she said she was going to be doing it for Victober, and I said, I want to buddy read it with you. So, A Writer of Books by George Paston, the pseudonym of Emily Morse Simmons, and it was published in 1899, I believe. Attractive reprinted edition. What do you think? I think it's probably about a female author. So that will be, in fact, I think it might be finished by next Friday. No. Anyway, so I'll get that underway next week, and then I'm not sure what else. Britta and I, next Friday, so probably not until after I film this next Friday's Friday Reads, but next Friday, my buddy read of Wuthering Heights with Britta begins. But otherwise, I don't know what else from my TBR I'll start. It'll be a surprise to me and you. I think that's all I have to say. What do you have to say? About what I had to say, or about what you have to say? Did you notice the bug on my head? What the hell else is new? Thanks for watching.